Hello, my name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And once again, with me is Mr. Jake Maringoni, and we are talking about the three colors white this time, the second in the trilogy of Three Colors by director Krzysztof Kiewslowski. Um, Jake, what do you think about this one? This is the second in the trilogy.
This is a very interesting one because I feel if you watch all of them back to back, this is the one that's going to feel the most like a different movie, tonally wise, which is weird because it still is bleak, but it's bleak in another way. It's very much a comedy, which is weird for Kieślowski, but there's a lot of weird comedic elements in the movie. But as Kieślowski said, and as I said in the previous episode, it's an anti-trilogy. So with Blue, it was an anti-tragedy. With this one, it's an anti-comedy. And you'll see when we talk about the plot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got the stars in this one are Julie Delpy. You may know her from the another trilogy where she's in all of the movies. The Before trilogy, where she plays the main character in all of the episodes of the Richard Linklater trilogy.
Celine, I believe is her name.
Opposite Ethan Hawke. And then we got, now bear with me, she plays Dominique. She plays Dominique in the film. Now, bear with me with this. This guy's Polish. He's definitely got a Polish name here. Zbigniew Zamachowski.
Zamachowski. Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. Zbigniew Zamachowski.
Zamachowski. He plays Carol. I'm not calling him by his real name. I'm calling him Carol. That's a lot
easier. That's his character's name, Carol. It's like the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's Mario.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that guy's name again. And then we got Janusz Gajos, and he plays Michaela. And Michaela is another main character in the film. So let's get into the plot here, Jake. Very cool. You know, these kinds of scenes always interest me when you watch a movie and there's somebody walking down the street. There's a guy walking down the street and he's got a suitcase in his hand. And
as I say, you see the suitcase on the not the elevator part, but the escalator where all the suitcases, and it's just a random shot that you don't really know what it's supposed to be, but we find out later on, and it's something that is just you wouldn't really think of, and then when you see it, it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense later on in the movie. But this sets it up.
He likes to play. He likes to do callbacks. Kozlowski does.
Oh, definitely.
And with Blue, he did a couple different callbacks, and this one is kind of like a long callback because we go back and forth to the suitcase a couple times. So the man walking is our main character, Carol. You know, he asks this guy who's guarding a gate. He says, "Hey, is this address I'm supposed to go to? And this the courthouse?" He says, yeah. And so he ends up going to the courthouse. And the reason why he's there is he's getting a divorce.
Yep.
Dominique, played by Julie Delpy, she's not in love with him anymore. Doesn't love him anymore. She wants a divorce. And in the back of the courtroom, we see somebody coming into the court that doesn't belong there. And we have a callback to a different movie. And that's
go back to Blue.
Julie from Three Colors Blue. That's where that scene where she ducks into the courtroom. Well, now we know what was going on in that courtroom because it's Carol and Dominique's divorce hearing. So she doesn't love him anymore. He doesn't have any money. His cards don't work. He ends up sleeping in a salon that I guess they own the salon.
Yeah, he owns it with, I think, his brother.
Yeah. No, I thought he owned it with her. I thought he owned it.
Oh, okay, it could have been her. I'm thinking of a later scene.
A different salon. You're thinking about a different salon. Yeah, that one owned with her, and he realizes he still had his keys, so he's like, well, what the heck? I need some place to sleep. So he went in there and slept with her. But then she's all mad at him, but then she has sex with him. Which,
yeah. We don't even know if she's just like a psychopath or she's like an Amy Dunn from Gone Girl, in which she's just trying to get what she wants by manipulating everyone. It's a little kind of ambiguous as to what's going on, and we from the first scene we see Carol, we feel so bad for him because he's almost like a buffoon. He doesn't properly understand French. He's an immigrant, and from there he's like the down on his luck protagonist that you just feel for him because there's so much shit that goes his way.
Yeah, he had so much bad luck at the beginning of the film. And so then she tries to blackmail him. She does after they have sex, and so he's like, "Well, you know what? Hell with this crap. I'm going to try to burn down the salon." And you know, this is some crazy stuff at the beginning. You're like, what the heck is going on in this movie? You know? So he ends up in a subway station, and he's playing music in a subway station.
Yeah, he's just performing songs.
Yeah,
just so he can get some spare change.
And a guy just happens to come walking by, and we come to find out this is a gentleman by the name of Michaela, and he trades a haircut, gives the man a haircut because that's what he does. He owned a hair salon. That's all he knew how to do is cut hair and give people a haircut. And he wants him to. He wants him to kill a man. Michaela wants Carol to kill a man.
Well, because Michaela is successful. He's a successful businessman, and I think the idea was he just wanted to go down the streets and find someone to kill this guy for him. It's kind of like Strangers on a Train in that sense of just two random strangers meeting and there's a murder. I think that's interesting with Michaela's characters, what he wants Carol to do, and it's almost as if he purposefully went down to find someone to help him kill someone.
You know, and with the trade of the haircut, he offers them a ride to Poland. He ends up saying, "I'll give you a ride to Poland," and then he calls his wife, tries to get back with her, and we hear her having sex with somebody on the other side of the phone, and she's having an orgasm with another man on the other end of the phone. So he's like, "Oh my God, this is not good for me." You know, he's like in rough. So then we see that suitcase again, and it's being put on a plane
to Poland.
So we know our main character needs a ride to Poland, but we haven't put it together yet that the suitcase and Carol have more in common than we thought at the beginning of the film. So then Michaela's at the airport looking for the suitcase.
He's trying to get the suitcase, and he's like, "There's no suitcase here." So he goes to the person over on the. He talks to someone. He's like, "My suitcase hasn't arrived," and then she's like, "What was your number? What was in the suitcase?" And then he just flat out says, "There's a person in the suitcase."
And so that's when we first realized that Carol is in the suitcase, and we see these guys, and we see one of the guys that are loading all the stuff on the little buggies and putting him on the plane and all that. One of those guys, he's in a van, and they pull all these suitcases, and there's our suitcase. He's got our suitcase in the van. He pulls it out, and when you know it, Carol's in there, and he comes out, and they start beating him up. They're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. Because I think the whole point was that the employees were stealing luggage so they could just make extra money off of it by selling all the stuff or people's wallets. Because even they say, "Oh, check to see if he's got money in his wallet," and he only has 2 French coins because that's all he's got. And then they throw him down the cliff.
Yeah, so he's laying in the snow, all bloody, but he finally made it to Poland.
Which is the main reason why he wanted to go there. That's all that really mattered to him, was just getting to Poland.
Yeah, so he finally got to Poland, even though he's in all kinds of bad shape here. And once again, it's like this guy cannot win for losing. I mean, it's just like he thought he was going to get something good out of it by working with Michaela, but he ends up getting beat up. Then he knocks on the window of a salon in Poland, and it turns out that man lets him in, and he starts helping him out. And we come to find out this is his brother who lets him in. He gives him a place to sleep, and he ends up working for his brother, cutting some hair just to make a few bucks.
Yeah.
Then he ends up getting another job, which is
a completely different job from being a hairdresser.
Yeah, he ends up being a guard. He ends up getting a job as a watchman and a guard for these money men, these guys that are counting money, and they're money launderers or whatever they call it. Because there's always people out to get people that are money launderers, people who got a lot of money laying around. Then we see a man watching, like a street away. He's like watching them. So he ends up making sure that, everything's okay, because they don't want whatever that guy's doing watching them. You don't want them to steal the money. And so then they end up going to a warehouse where it's a 30% exchange rate on their money. He wants a 30% exchange rate on their money. And so they end up trying to buy some land, and instead Carol buys the land instead, before they could buy the land, which is crazy, because this guy has nothing. He has no money. The only money he made was from working as a guard, working in the salon with his brother. And he has to come up with like some $5,000 to buy the land, and somehow he comes up with the $5,000.
You can assume that the bodyguard work gave him that amount of money so that he could buy it.
And then Carol, it turns out Carol is supposed to shoot a man for Michaela.
Yeah.
And it turns out the man is Michaela.
Yeah.
She wanted to see if Carol had the guts to actually go through with shooting him. And he
does shoot him, technically.
He ends up shooting him, but he had a blank in the gun.
It turns out to be a blank.
Yeah, there was a blank in the gun. So Michaela ends up not dying. And Carol's like, I had a blank in the gun. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to shoot you. And that was the job. That was the job. Yeah. He wanted to die. Michaela wanted to die. So they end up going for a drink, and then they do snow angels on the ice. Then the guys that are the money launderers, they find out that Carol bought the land in front of them that they were going to buy because they wanted to build an IKEA. I guess Poland was starting to become more democratic and more free, breaking away from the Soviet Union and stuff. And Sweden was going to have, I guess, IKEA was going to build a big factory of IKEA on this land. And they were going to make all kinds of money off of IKEA.
I think the idea was to sell the land to them so they could make more money.
Yeah, basically. And so they end up beating them up pretty good.
At the salon?
Say that again?
At the salon?
At the salon, yeah. They end up beating them up pretty good. But then he ends up talking to them, and he makes a deal. He makes a deal for 10 times the amount that he bought it for, which is really strange to me, because they're like, hey, we want to buy it back. He's like, yeah, for 10 times the amount I bought it for.
Well, what he says is that because they plan to kill him, basically. But what he says is, if you kill me, then all the land is going to be donated to the church, and then there's no way they're going to be able to get the land back. So he's basically said, "Here, I'll sell you the land," and that's how they're able to not kill him.
Yeah.
So they purchase the land from him.
Then, of course, he has money. He's got stuff going on in his life. Some good things start happening for him finally. And he decides, he has a dream about his ex-wife. And so he ends up calling her and ends up writing a will saying that he's going to leave her everything that he has in the will. And yet, but he has Michaela help him create a new passport, a death certificate. They buy a corpse from a guy that a dead corpse from Russia. They got so they can fake his death, so they can fake Carol's death. So when his wife thinks he's died, she will come to the funeral, and he's going to go to Hong Kong, and then he's going to have all his money because he's actually not dead.
The whole scheme of, I think what Carol's trying to do is that he's trying to get over his wife's leaving him, her abandonment of him. And so, don't they have sex first?
No, not right now. They don't. They end up. Yeah. Well, he's in a room, and so Dominique sees he's not dead. That's when she kisses him, and then they go at it again. They have sex. Yeah. She moans louder, almost as loud as when she was moaning when she was on the phone with him.
Yeah, and the whole screen goes white.
Yeah, which in Three Colors White, the white is a lot more subtle. It's like he ends up like one time he tries to go buy an office where him and Michaela's gonna have their new operations out of, and the walls are all white and everything's white. And of course we have the symbolism of the white with the snow, because in Poland at this time of year it's really cold and it's snowy. So the white is more subtle in this one than the blue was in Blue. I noticed, because harder to notice the white because it's more into the story of the film. It's not like it sticks out more, you know what I mean?
It's not more of an aesthetic choice as with Blue and Red. White is definitely the most subtle as far as cinematography goes. But there are still a couple of scenes, like you see early on in the film, you have Dominique in her wedding dress, and she's walking down the aisle, and it's very white and all that sort of stuff. And the dream, and then snow, of course, and it's more subtle than Blue and Red, and I think that's probably one of my biggest compliments for White.
Yeah, the white is a lot more subtle. It's more laid into the picture, the movie, instead of out there where it's noticeable. Of course, all of this stuff about setting up his death and getting the passports and the death certificate and leaving the will and all of this is a giant frame. Carol is trying to frame Dominique for his murder. We all know he's not dead. He's alive. And nobody knows he's alive except for two people.
Mikolaj
and Michaela.
Yeah.
And the guy that got the dead body from Russia, which he works for him, he's making him money, so he's not saying nothing. So he ends up getting revenge for Dominique leaving him broke and alone with nobody and nothing to help him out. And then so he's at his brother's house, and he leaves, and he's walking he's walking out of the prison. He walks to the prison, and Dominique is sign languaging him through the window at the prison.
And he's got the binoculars on. He can see her and see the message.
See the window, and she says that she loves him, and just like the last film, she cries. cries.
He cries.
He cries. I got it right here. He cries.
This is the second film in the trilogy. The last shot is someone crying, and we'll get to Red shortly. But yes, there is a certain motifs throughout all three of the films, and this one ends with Carol crying as I guess he's finally let go of Dominique, because early in the film he still loved her, she didn't love him, and in this film it ends with him basically moving on.
So what is your overall takeaway of White, Jake? I mean, I love the guy that had nothing and he was just end up torn to pieces by this woman, ends up getting revenge on her, and ends up having millions of dollars, and he's successful. And that, to me, I love when stuff like that kind of happens. You know?
Yeah, it's very different from Blue and Red, and I think that's just mainly just, and it's not just some tonally aspects. It's very different, but also plot wise, they're very unique, and I think that's why I really like this trilogy. Is that it's very diverse, and there's a variety of stories that are being told, and the fact that this is Kieślowski's comedy essentially, and it's very not a comedy, with certain things like Carol wanting killing someone, or supposedly killing someone, causing his own, pretending his suicide, and getting his wife into prison by faking his death, and all this sort of stuff. It's very different, and it's not. I don't know if it's my least favorite of the trilogy. A lot of people say it's their least favorite. I mean, if you look at the Rotten Tomato scores, both Blue and Red are both 100%, and then White is 92%, which is still very, very high. But yeah, a lot of people consider this one to be the weakest, but I don't really see that as the weakest. It's still a really, really good film, and I really love it.
Yeah, so do I. I thought it had. What I liked is that both of the films, well, all three films are different, but they're completely different from Blue to White. They were completely. This one mostly takes place in Poland, and Blue was in France. And
for the opening, the first 30-ish minutes of White takes place in France.
And I think that one of the things that really meant a lot to Kiewslowski was that he was able to make a film in Poland and have a true kind of Polish story, to be honest with you, with the whole story of the revolution from breaking away from the Soviet Union and having starting a business and
he's done films like that before, where it kind of criticizes the Polish government and all that sort of stuff. That's why his film Blind Chance was banned for 8 years. It was made in '82, but it didn't come out till '88 in America.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Jake, where can you be found?
Well, for the second time today, you can find me at Pretentious Hack on Twitter. I'm also on Worldwide Movie Games, Movie Battleground. There will be trivia, Full Metal trivia sometimes. I'm also in the Team League, in the There Will Be Trivia Team Tournament. I'm also on Jack of All Trivia. And I'm also just around. You can also find my podcast episode on That Major List, where I talk about films that everyone should go check out. You can also get yourself on there. And yeah, this is good. This is our second episode today, and going to finish it off with the one that got the Academy Award nomination. So thank you so much, Dan, and I'll see you soon.
And you can find me at Dan Skipdown on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also at From the Fourth Row. Or you can find my written reviews at cinesportstalk.com. That's cinesportstalk.com. Cinesportstalk.com. So for Jake and myself, good night.